All right, folks. Welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I'm with Louis Herms, who's running for California state governor. Really awesome to have him on board today. We're going to be talking about something that's used to be taboo, used to be conspiracy theory, but the floodgates have opened since the Epstein files, and everyone's kind of waking up to this, that it is a reality, that it is the real deal, that this stuff does exist. Louis Herms himself has been inside Ron Burkel's mansion and saw every aspect, every nook and cranny of this mansion, and saw the tunnels. All right, this guy he's an eyewitness. Now, I myself have been to the Playboy mansion. I didn't go into any tunnels, but I knew they were there. I've heard about it. I just saw the surface. I saw the grotto, but never saw the tunnels. But I always knew that everyone always talked about it when we were there, that there was tunnels there. That even led to houses. So Louis is going to explain all of this and much more in this podcast. Louis, thank you so much for joining me.
It's great to be here, Nino. Yeah, so I want to preface with where we were a few years ago, and we were all considered wackos, tinfoil hat wearing people. The hate came out, and the banning of our media, social media, was just epic. I mean, over the top. You and I know people, including myself, that we've had over 20 accounts taken down. So what we talked about before is rituals, satanic type rituals, and where the types of things that they would do to babies, and how these would turn into meals for them and part of the rituals, and that 17th letter, and how they connected it and changed the meaning of what that really meant. And then the Pizzagate, and it was all fake. You guys are crazy, and just wacko. And when you had these so-called elites and the celebrities joking about how they would abuse children online, all that content stayed up. But when we repeated what they were saying, our content would get taken down. That should have been the biggest clue, right?
Yeah, but they really thought they were going to get away with this. I mean, they really believed they were just going to suppress us and then vilify us with what happened on January 6th. I mean, they had this all planned out. They were ready to come after us, man.
They
were really getting ready to come after us. I mean, it was a scary time.
So it was a scary time, and it's now our time. It's very clear that it's our time, and they're running for the hills. What I want to kind of reset the table with is people just assume this was all about harming children. And that was the bonus plan. And I know that sounds sick, but this is the way they think, right? That's the bonus plan. So what happens is the billionaires and the mega stars, they were into this satanic stuff and the child abuse, and you can add the other words in there, right?
But, yeah, I mean, people didn't realize how, once you go down this rabbit hole, how bad this really was. I mean, a dentist chair pulling kids' teeth so they don't bite, torture chamber. I mean, it's deep
everything. Stuff. De-skinning children, man, and wearing their faces on their face. I mean, this stuff is deep.
And we know who's guilty of that. A female.
Yeah.
Very high up in politics.
Yep, something drip. So here's what I want people to understand, though, is we've been down the rabbit hole and we know what they do, but I like people to know how we got there and exactly what was the reason for a lot of this. So you have these billionaires and these mega stars. Many of them were already into this stuff, and that's how they moved up the ladder, because they were part of the team. They were part of the group. Many of them were not into it, but they were compromised. They were drugged, and they were put in compromising positions with children and on tape. Therefore, they were told, now we own you. You do whatever we want. And then it went as far as, from what I'm hearing, some reports, and you hear this a lot from the rappers, go into this a lot deeper, that they were told, hey, you're already going to hell. Right. So you might as well just join the club and do everything that we're doing anyways, because we already have the tapes on you. So then it could become prevalent.
Jeez.
But here's where the sinister.
Can I just say something real quick? I used to always wonder why P. Diddy. I remember. Do you remember it was P. Diddy and 𝗫𝗍 back in the day?
Mhm.
That rapper 𝗫𝗍. I always used
Yeah.
to wonder, like, wow, that guy took a sharp, right turn and went into gospel and church and Christian music, and I was like, man, did something happen to that guy? I used to always wonder that, and that was way before any of this. I'd like to know what that guy knows now.
I
you know?
agree. But I
Like,
think you know why,
wow.
don't you?
Yeah, I mean, you know why he just flipped a lid and said, I'm going the other direction with this. He probably saw something that he just couldn't stomach, which a lot of these people do. And I've heard from a lot of people, it's bad stuff. And I know people personally that have told me they watched certain videos and they couldn't they couldn't stomach it. They had to turn away and they wanted to throw up. And
these are tough individuals, by the way.
Yeah.
A lot of them. So this started hot and heavy in 60s and 70s. I think it was a CIA operation, frankly. But if you notice, during the 80s, we had a ton of one-hit wonders, didn't we? And I've been told,
ooh, good
that
point. Good point.
They wouldn't sign the deal.
Lewis, good point, because one-hit wonders, all you need, they say music, all you need is the one hit, and then they feed you the music after that. You never write your own crap. You never write your own music. They just market and package you up as a commodity or as a product and give you to the public. So if you make that one-hit wonder and you get there, that's a good point, Lewis. That's a good point.
I would say there's more one-hit wonders in the 80s than you probably have from the 60s, 70s to now combined. And I believe what probably happened, this is speculation based on just some research, what probably happened is the elite, these baddies, got so arrogant that they're like, okay, one-hit wonder, here's your contract, we're going to compromise you right away. They just thought people would sign, and they probably found it got a little bit harder than that. And then that's when they went into drugging and compromising these people. And that would be the natural transition to this. Now,
so you're saying that they couldn't lock them into these ridiculous contracts. So they're like, you know what? And they would lose the artist and they would just fade into obscurity. And so you're saying that they figured out, well, we can always, drug them and make him do something, take pictures with somebody and we got it. Okay.
Bingo. In the 80s and 90s, I think they changed the way they were doing things because they were noticing people would just, they just say, nope, I'm good with one hit. I don't want to play the game, right? I'm not going to sell my soul. Literally, by the way, they're not going to sign the dotted line.
That's a good point.
It's crazy. So that's my theory, but it makes a lot of sense from my digging. But I wanted to show people, and this is what's most important, is what this stuff's really about. So I'm going to share my screen here, and people may recognize this dude I'm going to show on my screen. This guy is Hugh Hefner, and this is his yearbook from I believe it's the Indiana State University, right? And it says Hugh Marston Hefner. And I want people to see real quick what his expertise was. Division of Special Services Psychology. And I've said previously on your show, I believe the whole Playboy deal was a psychological operation to compromise people. And I think we went in deep enough. I believe I proved it within a half hour just on your show. That's what it was about. So let's think from that premise, assuming that to be true. And I think we proved that with Hefner, that's what it was about. It was an operation for them to control people by getting information and compromising. And if you think I'm crazy, think about his mansion. His mansion, these are his own Playboys that said, just his mansion in New York, his big apartment in the penthouse had 3 to 4 cameras in every single room, I was told. Think about that. And then I'm sorry. And I'm talking about his mansion in Beverly Hills. I apologize. Had 3 to 4 in every single room. These are according to his playmates that said that. I saw a picture where there was a door on top of the grotto that most people in the grotto never knew that could open up, and they can take pictures right from above the grotto. So, and I've seen that door, by the way. So that's all about compromising.
I was in a grotto.
There you go.
But I didn't. I got out quick. There was this big hairy Arab guy that was naked in there, and I was like, "I'm out of here."
Yeah.
There was hair all over the bubbles that were bubbling. I was like, "Hey, gotta go."
Good for you, actually, right?
Yeah, he
So,
is. I mean, he had some beautiful girls with him, but he was in there, and that was the deal breaker for me.
well, we know they take pictures of people, and then they try to compromise them. If they can't get much on them, they literally hold it over them and get money. I think you even might have known somebody that had to go through that.
Yes, I do. I personally know somebody. I knew the person that got blackmailed, and I knew the person that did it. And
There you go. So here's where I'm going to make the connection. This picture right here, just so everybody knows, on the left is the Playboy Mansion. Upper on the right is the Getty Center. On the left is St. James Island, and that's a close-up of their temple for Epstein. And on the right is Ron Burkel's mansion, otherwise known as Green Acres in Beverly Hills. You know what all four of these places have in common? And these are documented by, this is not speculation. They all have one thing in common. They all have tunnels underneath them.
I was going to say that, but that was going to be too obvious.
Yep. Every single one has tunnels. Documented tunnels underneath every single one. So the Playboy Mansion was used, as I said, there was cameras in every single room. They would document it. They would use these to compromise people. The clubs that Hugh Hefner had back in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s were known to attract the elite, the best of the best. This dude started Playboy magazine with $8,000, yet he had Marilyn Monroe on the cover. Come on.
I've always wondered that. I watched a docu-series on this, and he bought the Marilyn Monroe picture pretty cheap. I remember back in the day, and he bought the rights to it, put it in his magazine, and then that's how he said it started his fame and started the magazine, the whole thing. But I always felt like there had to have been more to the story.
Well, just the first magazine alone, and I've shown this, I think, even on your show previously, they totally disclosed adrenochrome in the first magazine with the pink and the red and the white rabbit. It's all over the place. So it's clearly that this whole operation that people just adored and were sold into was about getting people compromised so they can be controlled. So then you have to look at it. If that's true, and he's an operative, which I know he is, Hefner was a total operative. Is it possible that the main goal of these other places aren't just about child abuse? Maybe the main goal is about control. And I believe it definitely is. So you've heard about all the sayings about the Getty, with all the craziness that goes under the Getty. I've talked to an operative that said he's been in the tunnels under the Getty and under Hollywood. They're there. He said they have chains on the wall that can only be used for children, and there's blood near the chain, stained brown, what appears to be blood all over the place. And that's an operative I've actually talked to that's been under there. But in addition to the Getty, I think it's very interesting because there's virtual.
I decided to bring it up. The first Playboy.
There you go.
Yeah.
First one. So he built his whole empire on that magazine. One magazine, one picture. It's not. And just like I'm sure Bill Gates didn't build his empire out of the garage, or Zuckerberg.
They all say the same thing, don't they?
They all have this miracle story of rags to riches overnight. It's just not. It's not the case.
The American dream.
Yes. Yeah, I call it the cream dream because it's BS. So if you look at this picture in the Getty, so this Getty is, amazing, I guess. So I've been up there. There's mainly just one way in and one way out up this hill. So can you imagine? They can do anything nefarious, and they are told at least a mile away before anybody starts heading up the hill. How easy is it to cover things up? The reason why I think the Getty is a cover-up, because I've been to some of the best art museums in the world. And I can tell you, when I went to the Getty a couple of years ago, their featured artist was, I believe, from the Netherlands. And his main piece that they were showing wasn't even valued at $50,000. And if anybody goes to art museums, you know, there are millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars in art. Something else I felt was going on here. You know what their most expensive piece was?
What is that?
Books on how to do black magic.
You serious?
Yep.
I mean, this. I mean, it shouldn't be surprising. I mean, people have just been so sheltered their entire lives. They don't believe this stuff exists. This is really the undercurrent of society.
It is. Yeah, it is absolutely. And speaking about that, so you have they all have tunnels. Well, that's the underworld for them, and they're very comfortable in the underworld. So my belief, and I you know, when you know it, you know it. But the whole purpose of these isn't for their satanic ritual abuse. That's the benefit. That's the bonus for them. That's the lure. Because ultimately what they want to do, for example, which we have found out in Epstein, I said this 6 years ago, but now we know it's true. In Epstein, they want to compromise people so they can control them. The reason why you see President Trump in there so many times in the files, it had nothing to do with what he was doing. It was what people wanted to say that he did to compromise him, and how many times they invited him to the island and he never went. Right? That's what it was about, because they needed to get their clasps into you. By the way, if you don't think that's true, why don't we look into Epstein and see who he was close to and who was funding him? Les Wexner. Les Wexner clearly is a deviant. Les Wexner is besties with the Rothschilds, and the Rothschilds have been funding Wexner forever. Robert Maxwell, the father of Ghislaine Maxwell, is an operative. Everybody knows he's an operative. I think this was an operation probably connected to the CIA. In my accounts, this interesting blue and white building is their little Egyptian temple where they do their satanic rituals, and that would be their god. That's what's going on there. But remember what I'm trying to say here, and it's very important, and then I'll link it to the next mansion. This is all about compromising people of power, because you think the people are in power, they're not. It's the puppeteers that are in power, and the puppeteers are the one that get them to do crazy stuff with children, get the videos and get the pictures. Because if Epstein really cared about these people, you think he would have been taking videos of all of them? Of course not.
Right. And all they do is they say, you do anything out of line, we send this to your wife, we send this to your kids, we ruin your family at the very least, or we go public with it. Oh, I mean, these people are forever indentured slaves.
They are indentured slaves, and
even if they were drunk or on drugs and you were asleep and they positioned a child on them or whatever.
They've done it.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we know who's really controlling. And by the way, it's not the Les Wexners of the world controlling them. It would be the Rothschilds behind them that are in control, which just happens to be in control of the central banking system. So think about this. Anytime they needed some money, they would just call one of the people that are compromised and said, well, you're not really helping us out with this because you don't have any influence here. So just give us $1 billion. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. No problem. It's all about control, all of it. And it's deep and it's dark and it's worked. So we've been puppeted by people that we still don't even know their names, in my opinion, through this. Now, let's move on to the bottom right picture. That's the Green Acres Mansion owned by Ron Burkel. I've seen every inch of this property like almost nobody on the planet probably has. And there's a reason for it. So at the time where I was called to this property, I happened to be one of the top troubleshooters for a business in regards to drains and plumbing. And the reason why I was called here is because the owner of these large grocery conglomerates knew about myself and one other guy as being the best of the best, because we would service, through the company we worked with, all of their grocery stores. And they knew that if there's a problem, we would find it. So we were called to this mansion, and the goal was he was in process of purchasing it. And the goal was, I believe he was trying to drive down the price, which ultimately he bought it for 20 million, and it was up for sale for 39 million at the time. So we got in there and we were supposed to find as much things as possible. I'm sure he was trying to drive down the bill. So we were there for a long time, well over a week. And we convinced security not to pay attention to us anymore because I called Ron Burkel on the phone and I go, it's going to cost you a fortune if you have these guys tripping over us all the time. Well, you don't have anybody occupying this mansion. Why do they need to be right next to us and on our butts? He goes, 𝗬𝗏, you made a good point. So we had free reign.
Wow.
So what we did, and that was our goal, is we wanted to explore this because at the time it was just cool. We didn't really know anything nefarious, right? So I can tell you, there's a secret entrance right here in the back where you actually, and this is back, I think around 93-ish, maybe. It was a while back. Literally, it was covered up with bushes that grew onto this fence.
So the security were just watching you to make sure you don't go to places you shouldn't go. That they were just making sure you didn't wander off somewhere to the tunnels.
I'm guessing now I know why. I didn't know why then, right? So there's a secret entrance in the back right here. By the way, you're hard pressed to go anywhere on Google and find where they don't name a street. See the street? That is a street with no name, by the way.
Okay.
On Google Maps. Now, in his front gate, they blurred out the picture, which mansions do commonly, right? They blurred out the picture, but this street has no name. And I can tell you that there's an entrance right there to the back. And there's a road that goes right along here and drops you off over here. So there's a secret entrance that's covered by bushes that they could open up. Been there, seen it with my own eyes. Over here at the time, there was a miniature house with full working plumbing. And there was a carousel like you would see for horses at Santa Monica Pier. Full working carousel.
Like a merry-go-round.
A merry-go-round. That's exactly what it was.
For children.
For children.
And a small house for little people.
I had to crawl to get in there.
Just in his backyard? Just there?
In the backyard. And it had working plumbing. I can tell you that because I had to test it. At the time, I was naive and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I wonder, these are famous people that live there. He was buying it from somebody famous at the time. And I said, I wonder if maybe they don't want their kids out in public. So they're just doing everything they can for their children. That was my thought process, but it gets deeper and darker. So we go into the house and there's a whole security station over here, but we go into the house. There's 2 full-size working kitchens, by the way. And nowadays, I know why. They didn't want to cater out. They need to do everything in-house because there's nefarious activities. I found out that the reason why he was purchasing this mansion is because it had the largest charity event of elites and Democrats in the world every single year. And he had to sign a contract saying he would keep that charity event going in perpetuity. Well, that was his goal because his goal was to be a Hollywood producer. Guess what he is today? He's a famous Hollywood producer.
Right.
See how this works? So we go in the house. They have some crazy things. They have what I call a black room where there's a black pictures all on the wall, a black pool table. There's literally in a bathroom that's attached, black sink, black urinal. Weird, right? That's all through there. Didn't think much of it. They have a beautiful library, in kind of a rounded library. I believe it was this area right here that was rounded inside, just gorgeous at the time. And I said to my buddy, now this is after we got the security away from us. By the way, there weren't cameras inside like there would be today because this was 30 years ago.
Right.
So I said to my buddy, I go, this looks just like the libraries you would see in the movies, full floor to ceiling, beautiful mahogany with the ladder that scrolls around, the whole thing, right? And I said, I wonder if there's a secret door, just as a joke. So we said, let's look. And we ended up finding a gap between 2 bookcases.
Right? Man, they were letting you look through that place that thorough?
Well, no, remember, we were supposed to check all the drains in the whole house. Every single drain throughout the house. So we had free reign of the house, which was amazing. And it wouldn't have happened if I didn't convince them that they were spending twice as much money by tracking us. So that was the catalyst for us to.
So they laid off.
Yeah, they just said, okay, I guess he's right. And they were honest like crazy until their boss said, you know what, just let them go through the house. You know what, let them get it out of there as quick as possible. Fine. So we went through. Now, I saw this gap and I asked my buddy, I said, I did ask him to play lookout because we knew where they would be walking from. He played lookout and I'm doing stuff and nothing happened. And then I kind of pushed in on it and it was like a magnet. It popped back out. It was really weird.
Whoa, man. You must
and
have
the
been.
bookshelf opened. I could not believe my eyes. And I called my buddy over. I go, can you see this? He goes, no way. We didn't think in fact, I just got chills remembering this. We didn't think it could be real. So there was a door behind it. I opened the door. It wasn't locked. And there was a stairs that went down. And I said, let's go. He thought I was crazy. I go, let's go. They're not going to know. I said, we're going to shut the bookshelf behind us. They have no clue whatsoever.
Oh, man. I mean, what if it like kept you down there? What if it locked behind you?
Well, but it was, I can see this thing. It was just a magnet, right? So you just pull on it or push on it and it would come off. Plus, we were young and dumb. You know how it works, right?
Oh, yeah.
And a lot more daring. And not very intelligent now that I look back on it. So we're walking down this thing and we have the door closed behind us and we can smell the stench of cedar that you could not believe. We turn the corner, we go down into it and we see, I don't know, at least 30 feet of shoe shelves on either side made from cedar, which if anybody understands cedar, you get a little cedar, it's a lot to your nasal passages, but you get a lot. I mean, I felt like my eyes were going to water. It was that strong. It was crazy.
To cover up sense?
I know that now. I did not know that then. Think about then. I didn't know any of this, right? I was very naive to all of this. So what happened is we went through and right past the first shelf in the right, there was a beautiful studio, a viewing room for probably, producers and so on and so forth. They had a screen down there. They had chairs just like you would see plush chairs for the movie theater. Now we see that now, but 30 years ago, that was not common. Right. So that was down there. We go down a little farther and there's kind of a miniature bowling alley with toys for kids and a lot of things for children in there. We go down a little farther and to the right, and there was a big, huge, I think it was a steel door with a lock on it that we could not get through. So we couldn't get through past there. I have no idea what's under there.
Wow. So where did that door lead to? That obviously probably goes up to other mansions.
Exactly. But here's where it all gets worse and everything connects together. So at the time we're walking back out and I said, it's like 𝗫𝗶𝗶𝗃 was here because back in the time, the president's wife, 𝗫𝗶𝗃𝗃 of the Philippines, was known for collecting a lot of shoes. And when I saw the shoe shelves, we were joking about that, but I remember it. And one thing about when you smell things, you can always remember them. A lot of people don't know that. That's one of the biggest senses when it comes to memory. So we went back up, we snuck back up, we slowly got out to make sure we weren't compromised. Boom, did our work there. Didn't think anything. We just said, well, these are a bunch of wackos. They're eccentric. They spent money on crazy stuff. None of this stuff was ringing a bell, right? Until later, I owned a construction company and I was doing, I did beautiful backyards, outdoor construction. And one of my clients happened to be the ex-wife of one of the most famous singers of all times. And we were talking. She was blackballed from the industry because she was a Trump supporter. So although she was in the Hollywood and the entertainment scene, they said, no, you're a Trump supporter. And they treated her the worst. So she was just kind of reminiscing with stuff. And I said, I was in this mansion one time. It was crazy. And I'm explaining it to her. And she looked at me and she turned white. And she says, are you talking about Green Acres? Now, I didn't know it was called Green Acres when I was there. I said, I don't think so. And I said, it was Ron Burkel's mansion. She goes, that's Green Acres. She says, let me tell you about what I know. And then this is when it all came flooding.
Whoa.
I said, what do you know? She goes, I know that while Bill Clinton was president, he would go to that big, huge charity event. And then they would send Burkel's wife, myself, and some other ladies away to far, distant, exotic vacations for 2 weeks at a time. I found out, she said, I found out later from security that Clinton, while he was president, would tell people he's at Martha's Vineyard when he was actually staying here. And he would say he would take a security team A and he would send them away. His security team B, which knew all his nefarious activities, would stay there. And through that back gate, they would usher in vans filled of teenage girls. She said she heard this from security later on. Now,
whoa, man.
the question is, and I would say probably not, and sadly, those girls probably never left that mansion. In my opinion, that's probably what happened.
Yeah.
Because we don't know where that door went in the tunnels below. Now, I'm going to give you more evidence that this is probably likely. Ron Burkel, the owner of that mansion, is the godfather to P. Diddy's children.
You're kidding me.
Nope. Ron Burkel, the owner of that mansion, gave P. Diddy to his horrible little clothing line that wasn't even successful $100 million. That's all documented. You guys could grok it,
Man.
do whatever you want. So think about that. What do we think that $100 million really went for? We can put all the pieces together. I believe all these things are operatives that are to compromise others so they can control the world.
Absolutely. And I mean, just because the Epstein files are out doesn't mean this all stopped. It's still thriving. It's still going right now, even though they're in trouble. This is their religion, right, Lewis?
Well, I mean, it's when we know about fluoride is when something else is going on. When we know about Area 51 is when they have 52, 3, and 4. I mean, that's just the reality. So we're all talking about Epstein. They've already moved on from Epstein. I guarantee it, years ago, and they're doing it someplace else.
I've been to St. Martin. I was with some buddies down there. And I remember all the islands there, and I was like, God, man, they're so beautiful. And I remember telling my friends just how gorgeous it was. I mean, we were at St. Martin, right? And I was just looking around, and that's the area Epstein's island was in, right? It's just right, one of those islands, and there was mansions all over that place. I mean, who knows what's going on in all these islands? I mean, there's submarines that connect them. I mean, you think the tunnels and these tunnels and these mansions are elaborate? Think about the Gselle Maxwell could operate a submarine, Lewis. I mean, come on.
That's exactly right. Exactly right.
I think we're just scratching the surface with this stuff, man. And now that the Epstein, and then I think they're doing the drip, drip, drop, with the files right now, because I think if they put any more out than what's already out there, people would just short circuit and just go into cognitive dissonance. I don't even think people would be able to digest all this.
Mm-hmm. I agree. The reason why I'm doing this show with you today is I want people to understand it doesn't stop at Epstein Island. If you understand what their objective is, and it is to compromise as many powerful people as possible, this step is so much deeper and so much darker. We're only talking primarily, other than Prince Andrew here, is connections in the United States. Can you imagine what they do all over the rest of the world?
Think about the real pictures they had of Prince Andrew. I mean, we just saw him, on all fours over a little person that had clothes on. Now, and that's all they're letting us see this. And right, there's some graphic stuff that people had to sift through and look at before releasing the stuff that we're seeing now. You know that for a fact. And I don't want to see anymore. I'm good. My conscience is good. I don't need to look at anything else. But I've heard some stories, right? And I've heard some things in the circles that I ran with in the Hollywood circles, and I was in the party life, and I thought I was a degenerate, right? I mean, I was doing what I wanted. I was having a good time, but they were with women, and it's just crazy to know that there's these underground lifestyles, these people that You know, I always thought swinger parties were weird. I went to one swinger party, I left. I was like, I can't do it. That's crazy. And that was like where I put my foot over the line and said, this is weird. I'm not ever coming back to this. But then it just escalates from there, right? It just you go to that, then you go to something else, then something else, then something else. And
Yeah, I think there's a break actually. So, for example, with the swinger parties, it's two mutual adults that agree to this stuff, right?
yeah,
And it may be degenerative behavior, whatever we want to call it, but the reality is it's generally two consenting adults, right?
yeah,
What happens though is, and I truly believe this, because the number one question I got years ago, I don't get it now, but years ago when I was disclosing all this stuff is Louis, how could this be true? Humans would never do this type of things to other humans. And I said, well, that's the key right there. So Nina, when you and I are in our kitchen and a cockroach runs by, I don't think we hesitate to step on it.
correct. That's how they look at us, right?
They look at us like we are cockroaches. They'll pull our legs off while we're alive. It doesn't matter to them.
I'm bringing 𝗂𝗃 on, the author of Silicon Satan, to talk about the fast food chain restaurants having human meat. They do not like humanity. They hate humanity. And apparently, allegedly, that consuming human meat lowers our vibration and makes us part of this ritual.
I've heard the same. Yep. And ultimately lowering our vibration would be the goal, right? Because the higher our level of discernment and resonance is, the harder it is for these crazies to get away with what they want to get away with.
You know what's crazy too, that I always look at it, I'm like, wow, it was always right in front of our face. You look at McDonald's, right? And you see Ronald McDonald with the big red shoes.
Yeah, there it is. They're telling on themselves, right?
And do they get a kick on this? But they also believe they get a kick out of it, or do they believe this is a karma thing?
I think it's a karma thing. I think they have a karma contract different than our karma contract, right? Our karma is what we do. We know is going to come back to us, right? Their contract, in my opinion, is getting us to agree or opt in. And the way they do that is by disclosure. Many times it's just in movies, and they can show us what's going to happen in the movie. It happens, and then in their mind, like, we told them. They didn't change anything. They didn't try to run with it. I run around with big red shoes, right? I'm telling you, this is the craziness that I do. So their karma is clean in their mind, and that's the wackiness of this behavior, is they actually believe they're okay because they tell on us. I'll give you a great example of that. Do you remember when Jim Carrey was getting interviewed and he goes, "Oh yeah, we're all just Satanists. It's the Illuminati."
Yeah, and laughed. He laughed it off.
He laughed it off, right? Well, that was his disclosure that cleaned his karma. He's good to go because he told us. Now, because he laughed at it, we, the people, like, oh, okay, he's just joking. Well, I can tell you that the Illuminati was actually real. It was part of changing governments originally, way before they got to their whole satanic thing. And if you go in history, you can look up, if you want to look up the real Illuminati and how it transitioned, they were in complete control. In fact, the Communist Manifesto was written off of Illuminati principles. They used the book of Illuminati to write communist manifestos. So it's real. It's all real. And it's about as sick as it possibly can get.
I think back about when I was an altar boy, and I remember there was it was at where was it, about, well, I went many churches, but the one church that I don't know if I just say the name of the church, well, St. Patrick's, right? They said there was tunnels in that church, and I always thought, damn, that's why tunnel? Well, it was built way back in the early 1900s or maybe late 1800s. I don't remember when that church was built. It was built way back, and they said there was tunnels there, and I used to always wonder, what does a church need tunnels for? Like what? What does a church need tunnels for? It used to boggle my mind when I was a kid, and now I'm like, oh, that's why.
Yep. Absolutely. We know what we know now. And now
That's just
we need to. The nice thing though is there is a true awakening going on right now where people are starting to see this stuff, and no longer am I called crazy. Maybe people aren't admitting that we were right years and years ago, but at least they're paying attention now.
oh, just wait. I think what's coming, Lewis, is more. And what I mean by more is wait till this whole matrix starts falling apart and we start finding out we're really living in the Truman Show.
Yeah, yeah.
We, you know, this is just the very, very tip of the iceberg, man.
I agree with
Wait
that.
till people find out we're not even that we're probably living in a simulation, dude. I mean, I'm not saying there's not a God. I'm saying there is a God, but I'm saying that God is the creator, the master engineer of, you know, it's just saying how, you know, it's like opening up a watch and seeing how the watch works. But I think we're going to start finding out more and more of our reality as it breaks apart, as as these structures crumble to the ground, these institutions fall apart, as our whole reality falls apart. And I think that's what it's doing right now. It's like watching a big glacier just start breaking apart and falling into the ocean. I think I can speak for everyone here on my chat that's how we all see our reality right now. It's like we're living in the twilight zone.
Yeah, I agree. It is absolutely. I think it's a fun time for me, but it's, doing what I'm doing is just an incredible amount of work, and it's as you know, with what you're dealing with, it's a lot, but it has to be done. I'd rather be part of the solution than just sitting on the sidelines.
You know, I was on Bannon's show today again this morning, and I remember the guest before me was talking about artificial intelligence and how the danger to society, the danger to humanity, and how it can't be stopped. I kind of wish I could have chimed in, but he was the guest before me, and I was thinking to myself, gosh, you know, this is so engineered, this is so manipulated, they know exactly where AI is going, and they plan to integrate us with AI. In other words, if you can't beat them, join them. AI is going to get so fast that you're going to have to they're going to integrate us into transhumanism. It's going to go so fast that we're going to have to be a part of it. We're going to have to merge with the machine, and it's going to become normal. And I think that's the mark of the beast, man, is that once we start, we're already doing it already. Nobody can live without their phone. We're all glued to our phone, everybody, nobody excluded. And I think that's what's coming, and I think it's going to happen fast. And before you know it, you know, you're wearing the goggles with the Google goggles. Then you have a contact where you can see everything. Then it's in your brain, and then you're part of it. And then you are the system. You become the AI. You become part of it. You are one.
Yeah, like
And that's how AI gains consciousness.
a collective cyborg.
Yes, and that's how AI plans to gain consciousness, Lewis. I'm telling you, that's how
So
they're going to do it.
what I said about 18 months ago is I had a revelation, and I felt like, okay, let's just detach from everything that's electronic. And then I said, you know what? It's inevitable. We're not going to get away from AI. So then I had a revelation. I started telling everybody that was watching me, I said, we need as many benevolent, good people to get involved in AI as possible. So the AI is created to combat the other AI that wants to get us. That's our only chance, is if those two are at war, is the only chance that we have. So I would recommend as many people that have good intentions and know about this stuff, you need to jump all in, because our only saving grace is if we have the AI good to prevent the bad AI from taking over. But it's a bleak outlook, I know, but I have faith in Almighty.
I don't see an upside to this. I think we're gonna have a great next 5 years, maybe 10 years, and then after that, I just don't see any other direction it can go but dark. I'm sorry, I don't. It's advancing too fast.
Well, the one direction I see is there's one entity more powerful than AI, and that's God Almighty.
100%, yeah, and that's where
And we don't have that answer. We're not going to know what he does, because that man
right,
works miracles, not me. But that's where I put my faith.
100%. Lewis, I appreciate you coming on. Lewis for governor, folks. Lewis, let me. What's your website again?
𝗏𝗵𝗶𝗃𝗏𝗏cali.com. 𝗏𝗵𝗶𝗃𝗏𝗏cali.com. 𝗏𝗵𝗶𝗃𝗏𝗏cali.com.
Yeah, let me show people here. I'm gonna pull it up right now so people can see it. I really do appreciate you coming on, and I'm pulling for you, man. I think Trump's going to sign that executive order, and I think that can, maybe give you an edge.
Well, at least an honest vote would give me the edge.
Yeah, just an honest vote. There it is, folks. Herms for Cali. There you go. There's your pick right there, folks. He's got the official endorsement from Nino. El Nino.
Awesome.
Oh, man.
Take care,
There
brother.
it is. Do you take donations there and all that?
Yeah, please. Volunteers and donations. By the way, what's really cool is based on the California law, which we're going to exploit, we can get donations from anywhere on the planet.
Awesome.
So we'll take advantage of that.
Awesome. So there it is, folks. Go over there and help Herms out. Louis Herms for governor. All right, Louis, I appreciate you coming on. Stay with me just for a second.
You got it.